Welcome to the II Preview Show with me, Davey B, Dylan Fitzsimons and Bomber McCormack. We're going to be previewing the Con and Annie Kirby Memorial quarterfinals and the Shelbourne Park Open 600 semi-finals. Fitzy, what do you make of this weekend's action?
Similar enough to last week. Now, I thought it's quite a tricky card at Limerick, especially. I'll be looking more towards the outsiders in the field where possible. Probably trying to be banging against some favourites that have tricky enough looking draws. The weather's meant to be a bit worse this weekend. The track might not be running as fast as it has the last 2 weeks, so it'll be interesting. There were a few shock results last week. A few big names went out. I'd say it'll be very similar again this weekend now. It's always the case in the Kirby. Limerick's quite a tricky track to run. The first bend's tight, and some dogs just can't get a hang of the traps down there. So it'll be interesting to see. There's some good action aside from the two big competitions: the Sean O'Connor Cup starting with the reserve with the consolation trial stake for the Kirby, and the Puppy Oaks on in Shelbourne as well. So if you were watching Talking Dogs TV again, I suppose it was good the last 2 weeks. There's no reason why it won't be good this week. Again, it's probably the best 24 races they've put on thus far as a whole.
Definitely. Bomber, what do you think of this weekend's action?
Yeah, look, it's as Dylan said, it's a tricky card for punters maybe, but for people who just enjoy watching the race, and it's just top class. You've got the Kirby on. Dylan said the consolation stake is just as good as the Kirby. But the names that went out last week, like I think it was 8 out of the 13. I think it was 8 out of the 13 first round heat winners went out last week. Like, and that's a lot, you know. So you've 8 winners from heat 1 going out in the second round. So like Jack's little thing, and you know, just the big names: Ballymac, Cash Out, Clona Bolt, All About Ted. You know, like a lot of the heavy hitters went out. So it's an open enough competition. You still have the likes of Ballymac, Ariel not hanging in. She's probably not running to form, but she's still in there. And you know, if she puts it together on the right night, you know, it's €80,000 at the end of the day. So look, hopefully the 600's a great stake as well. I thought like all the heats last week, I think 32.40 was the slowest heat winner. Now the track was in good condition, but I think 3 heats were run in 32.20. I think that's just a reflection of how good of the dogs they actually are, like Price's Jet and Billy Steve, and you know, Ballymac Kingdom, great name that, and Beach Avenue. Like, look, these are just the best dogs in the country, and still say the best dogs in the world compared to the UK at the moment. So look, it's top class racing, and I think we're, you know, tune in Talking Dogs TV on Saturday night again, and you'll get to see the best performers go head to head.
Definitely. And it was 3 winners apiece last week for the pair of you. Dylan still holds the advantage.
Yeah, 11-8 on aggregate, as you so said earlier. So
indeed. Hopefully you can get some winners this weekend.
Yeah, hopefully.
Let's get into the action. So heat 1 of the Con and Annie Kirby Memorial 525. We've got Roval Star in 1, Flyers Iniesta in 2, Luminous Light in 3, The Machine in 4, Scarty Yank in 5, and in 6, Explosive Boy. Bomber, what do you fancy?
Oh, you let me go first this week now.
Don't want you copying Dylan?
Yeah, well, no, he's going to copy me, I'd say. Yeah, look, this is a tricky heat, to be honest with you. Like, you've Explosive Boy and Scarty Yank, 2 of the best, probably early pace dogs in the stake, and they're drawn terribly in 5 and 6. Explosive Boy, he did his worst break I've probably ever seen him done last week. He did, I think it was a 132 sectional, and for Explosive Boy, that's as bad as a break he can possibly do. He showed massive early pace to get back into the race, but then Deadly Destroyer got on him on the back straight, and he kind of just outgunned him into the third bend, and you know, he was just a sit and duck. Then the Machine, I think he came on the scene then, and there was a bit of messing in the front, but he did well to stay in it, Explosive Boy. But if I had him, you'd be over the moon. You'd be sweating once you saw him go past him. We're going to qualify, and then the draw came out and you're in 6, so it's not ideal. And you have Scarty Yank now on your inside, who did a 124 last week. I will bring up the fact that I did tip him at a big price. Now, I went with Drippy's Fittest for the selection to try and beat Dylan, but he was a big price. I think he went off at 7 or 8 to 1. He's been backed in during the week. He's cut massively in the prices, but I I thought the Luminous pup ran well last week as well. We thought the race will pan out from with Agent Stanley moving off. He actually did move off Agent Stanley. The Luminous dog was a bit of trouble in front as well, but he showed the pace he has. Like, he's capable of a 28.40 or 28.50 run. I didn't go with him for the first 2 weeks, but I actually fancy Royal Star in this heat. I think he's a great draw. The Luminous pup, he massively moves out to out wide. And I just think Explosive. I think Explosive Boy is a lot more already paced than Scarlet Yang. But if Scarlet Yang can trap, there's not a lot of time for Explosive Boy to get to the bend ahead of him, and maybe not a clean run. I just think the Royal Star Dog is a great draw on the inside. He's just not a good trapper. That's his only problem, and he does have good early pace when he gets going. And to be fair to him, in the first round he was in with Clone of Bolt and Explosive Boy, and I just think this race is really panning out for him, that he can show what he has. Like, he did 2 big runs in the unrace stake in Clonmel. He's a really fast dog. I know the connections think a lot of him. Look, he's a Graham Holland dog. They're always dangerous. I just think he's going to be a big price maybe as well, and I just think he's a great chance in this heat the way it's panned out for him. So look, he wasn't fancied in the first 2 heats, but he's still in the competition, and I'll go for Royal Star in this race anyway.
So Bomber's selection for Heats 1 is Trap 1, Rural Star. Fitzy, what do you fancy?
I've just come down on the machine in this race. Obviously, he isn't the quickest at the stride in this competition by a long way. He's probably one of the worst dogs up to the corner left in the competition. But I thought this is probably as good a draw he's had thus far in the stake. I have Rural Star and Flyers, and yes, they're coming together early, although I think they're both coming off. The Luminous dog will be straight enough from 3 based off how he ran from 1 last week. Fanny Neal edge of Tad left. He actually turned the bend last week with a lot of pressure up on his right shoulder. He'd been running off the corner before that. It was definitely the best run of his career. He finally showed that the 2 qualifying marks he had in his card were certainly no flukes whatsoever. But I thought if 1 and 2 do come together, and 3 certainly isn't the best dog up to the corner on all known evidence, I thought the machine, if he could just produce any sort of star, he might just find himself handy at an earlier stage than he's used to in this field now. Obviously, there were some questionable antics on the run-in last week between him and Deadly Destroyer. There was a stewards into the race. They gave the benefit of the doubt to both dogs, and rightly so, in a puppy competition. But I imagine they might have tried to freshen the dog up during the week, and that might just benefit him as well here. If he can produce any sort of start here, it's not a massive price. He can get across to the fence early enough. Well, at least a lot earlier than he has thus far in his career from prohibitive draws. He obviously showed a ridiculous amount of pace last week. He went by a few dogs like they were standing still. Obviously, Ballymac Cash was extremely lucky in the heat. He was absolutely flying into the 3rd bend. He was brought to a standstill. But he went by Explosive Boy quite handily as well. Now, Explosive Boy didn't have it his own way up front, but I'm bang against Explosive Boy in this heat again. I don't think he'll have his own way up front again here either. Scarlet Yanks, as smart a trapper as there is in the competition. He's an inside seed, but as we've seen in the starts today, he's not moving an edge left from 4. I don't think he's going to be heading in from 5. There's every chance him and Explosive Boy can come together at some stage on the run-up, and if not in the run-up, right on the corner here. Obviously, looking at the bear splits, they're going to be very closely matched. I think Explosive Boy has plenty more already pacing him, but he's going to have to get around them. 6 is in a box that's conducive for breaking in Limerick. He's a dog I'd really be looking to get after if I was laying in this race now. I'll just side with the machine to hopefully lay a bit handier than he has in the past, and he can pounce into the 3rd bend here if it gets any way messy up front.
So Fitz's fancy for Heat 1 is Trap 4, The Machine. Heat 2, we have got Envoy in 1, Bombardier in 2, Ballymac Merlin in 3, Ballymac Belvoot in 4, Derby's Delight in 5, and in 6, Epic News. Bomber, what do you fancy?
Yeah, look, I thought this was a tricky heat as well, to be fair. I thought Bombardier, I think he was one of the second fastest winner, but he's a funny dog. He he explodes from boxes and then he doesn't have much early pace and then he comes home on his own. Like he's did a massive clock from the third bend home last week. I think he nearly broke 12 seconds. So look, he's an exceptionally fast dog. I just could get swamped by Ballymacmerlin early on. Now, Ballymacmerlin's not really coming out, but he is showing massive pace. He showed a lot of pace last week to get in front just before the line, but he did get picked up in the end. I was a little bit disappointed when he got to the front that he did get picked up, but it didn't really go his way. And Ballymac Belvote, look, he ran up the Juvenile Classic. He's ran unbelievably the last 2 weeks, showing pace in behind. I think it was Derby's Delight and him collided out of boxes and he got left behind, but he does dive for the fence when he sees it then. And look, he showed massive pace last week. I watched, he lost, I don't even know how much ground he lost, but he lost plenty. And he's just an exceptionally fast dog. He's going to be hard to knock out, but he's not a dog that, like, if he's behind the likes of Bombardier, he's not going to come from behind him. It's a tough heat. I just think Derby's Delight, he came home like an absolute train as well. Like, he picked up Ballymacmerlin last week. So look, it's a tough feat. I'm going to take a big chance here. I'm going to go with Epic News in 6. I just think this is a dog that has a lot more ability than he's shown. He's yet to win a race, and I'm probably mad trying to pick a dog in the third round of Kirby who's never won a race before. But this dog is massive early pace when he puts it together. He's just not coming out of the boxes, and he's got a bit of trouble, and that's probably from his inexperience. But he's 28-31 the Trial Limerick in his card. None of these really have that type of run on their card. Yes, I think Bombardier did it last week, but this dog can obviously run. I just don't think you've seen the best from yet. And look, the Kennedys have him. The crowd that they train, Billy's Diva, the own Good News Derby winner. Look, I just think he could be a massive prize. He could be serious value. I just think he's well drawn 6, even though, look, it's not the best breaking box. But yeah, look, I'm going to take a chance with Epic News in this one.
So Bomber's selection for Heat 2 is Trap 6, Epic News. Fitzy, what do you fancy?
I'm the same as Connor here. I fancy the bottom, Epic News. I think the inside's a mess. I think Derby's Delight's well drawn. I think Epic News is well drawn, and I think the other 4 are quite poorly drawn altogether. And that's enough for me to try and part with it. If you put it 6-1 on Epic News now, I think he's finally got a draw to work from to show his ability. He was running as a wide down in Cork, and as we all know, Cork isn't the best track for natural wide runners. They put an inside seat on him then. He got 2 last week. He definitely didn't want to be in there. I thought, even though he's an inside seat in Trap 6, I think it's perfect for him. Derby's Light in 5, again, an inside seat. I think he'll be fine from 5. He certainly won't look to dive inwards anyway. In the early yards, the same can't be said for Ballymac Bell. But when he's in 4, he just dives left. He could easily get at his kennel mate and litter brother, Ballymacmerlin, in the early yards here. They're 2 big dogs. You know yourself, they come together in the early yards. They could well just put themselves out of contention early enough. The Belvote dog's been on some huge running, hit the frame the last few starts, made the final of the Juvenile Classic. He showed massive pace down in Tralee. I thought he's liable to qualify again here, but I do want to be on the bottom. I think it's a race that lacks early pace, and this dog is booked. It's early pace. He's just not being shown it from quite tricky draws this far in the stake. I think he can break his maiden tag here. I'd expect Bombardier to lead them out for the first 50 or 60 yards like he did last week. And as we saw last week, Benedina Roxy ran by him into the corner, but she just didn't turn left. I think if Epic News can just turn left on the corner here, he has a huge chance of fronting off, and that could just be enough.
So Fitz's fancy for Heat 2 is Trap 6, Epic News. Heat 3, we have got Sing Along Sally in 1, Vallegro in 2, Ballymac Aerial in 3, Broke with Hope in 4, Deadly Destroyer in 5, and Ben Almadina Roxy in 6. Bomber, what do you fancy?
Yeah, this is another tricky heat, to be honest with you. But it's of the high quality. There's some serious dogs in this heat. Look, Ballymac Aerial, she didn't win again last week. She disappointed a few people. I thought she was poorly drawn last week in 5. I think they've taken the season off her now. So they have taken the season off her. Look, it's just she's just not coming out of the box. Like she's repeating these 140 sectionals in Limerick, and in the Easter Cup in Shelburne, she was doing 358. Like she's just not coming out of the box anymore. One thing I've noticed about her is that she's gone up massively in weight since when she was a pup in the stakes in the Comerford Cakes when she was doing the 20 break in 28 seconds in Shelburne. She was 70 pounds, 69 pounds, and now she's 74 pounds. Like she's gone up 4 pound, 5 pound weight. Like it is a lot on the dog, and I just don't think she's running to form. But she's still in the stake, and she's just that good that you can never rule her out. Vallegro went head to head with her in the back straight last week. Like he just ran on. Like you have to credit is due. Like he came alongside Ballymac Ariel, then the back straight. They went head to head. She just couldn't pass him at the third bend, and she went by him just after. I think it was 25 yards after the line when she got the better of him, but she couldn't shake him off, and it was a great buckle between them, even though they were behind in the heat. But Deadly Destroyer, he's just a class act. Like he's just classy in this grade, and he's experienced compared to the rest of the runners. He came out the first night. I was impressed with him out trap 5 last week. He the machine was probably messing around with him a bit, but he still got the job done. He kind of outpaced Explosive Boyd in the back straight into the third bend last week. Like he's massive to pace, this dog. Like he really is. Like he's going to be hard to beat in this competition. Sing Along Sally, it just didn't go well for her last week. She was the worst break she's ever done in her career. Like between Tralee and like this is probably the worst time we've ever seen her come out of the box. Like, and I don't even think it was that bad of a split at 130 something, but for her, it's a poor enough break. I think it was the Stone Park dog literally cut the head off her then at the second bend, and she was all at sea then. But she still qualified. She is well drawn and won. She's going to lead probably Vallegro and Ballymac Ariel, so she'll get herself in the race. I just think they're two big guns to come after you in the back straight. I just think Sing Along Sally, if you're trying to pick holes in her, it's just maybe that first half in the back straight. She's not exceptional. But the Stone Park dog took a lot over in the first round. But look, he's a fast dog. But I just think Deadly Destroyer is a class act. I'm going to go from this heat. He's just doing everything right. He's coming out of the box. He's leading. He's showing pace at her and he's getting the results. Like the 2 heats he won were 2 tough heats. They weren't easy heats to win. So look, I'm going to go for Deadly Destroyer. But Ballymac Ariel, if she puts it all together, you just know she could do anything. Like she's just that type of dog, and she's going to be hard to knock out this heat as well. So hopefully we see the best of Ballymac Ariel from a spectator point of view. But I'll go for a Deadly Destroyer in this heat anyway.
So Bomber's selection in Heat 3 is trap 5, Deadly Destroyer. Fitzy, what do you fancy?
I just sided with Sing Along Sally in the seat with her draw on the fence. I thought that might just be enough for it to front off. I think Deadly Destroyer is the best early pace in the race, but while I still maintain trap 4 or 5 is his perfect draw, it's a big ask in Limerick to come around the bitch like Sing Along Sally when she's drawn on the fence. She missed her break her first time in trap 1 in Limerick last week. I don't think she'll make the same mistake again this week. If you see it a lot with greyhounds when they move to trap 1, they often miss their break first time, while down in Limerick, the beneficial box to be in. I have Vallegro moving off a tad. Him and Ballymac Ariel could well come together early. And I thought Broke with Hope, while he's a big outsider in the race, he could just be a very bad dog for Deadly Destroyer. Showed plenty of pace up to the corner behind Ruby's fittest in round 1. And he got squeezed up the whole way up the run-up last week, and he still showed a lot of pace to the corner when he was in with Scardy Yank. He was on Scardy Yank's immediate outside. As we know, Scardy Yank cut out into the middle of the track, and Broke with Hope was still just pushing up on top of him, trying to get in front of him on the run to the bend. Deadly Destroyer doesn't come out through the bars. He might just find 4 on his inside at the corner, and therein lies your chance of getting Deadly Destroyer beating this contest. Benno Medina, Roxy, and 6 round with great merit last week. As I mentioned earlier, she just took an edge to turn the corner. She doesn't have too much experience around Limerick. She doesn't have too much experience in general. She's the youngest dog left in the Kirby by some way. She's an October 19 dog. You're talking she's just gone 18 months. She's only had 5 races. She looks a special bitch now to still be in the Kirby at this stage, competing for the last Nance. She's one of the first Rodas Woohoo sired dogs to hit the track. So it's interesting to see now how he gets on as a stud dog. That's what I'm most interested in Benedina Roxy as. She's one of his first litters, and she's certainly flying his stud flag anyway. She showed an awful lot of pace to the third bend in her starts this far in her career. But while I'd love to see Ballymac Ariel come through the bars and give the clock a rattle, she just hasn't been suggesting the last 3 or 4 weeks that she's going to be doing that anytime soon. So I often find the Liam Dowling dogs very hard to weigh up at times. Ballymac Ariel did 28.48 last week. There's nothing wrong with that. It didn't look like she left too much on the track, but I'll just so I would sing along Sally to lead here. If she leads and Ballymac Ariel can turn second, it's race on. I think Ballymac Ariel could do it 2 to 3, but I thought Vallegro's a bad dog for Ballymac Ariel. Broke with Hope's a bad dog for Deadly Destroyer, so maybe sing along Sally just trap level, that might be enough to win here. But I can see Deadly Destroyer potentially going out if he can't get his own way up front.
So Fitz's fancy for Heat 3 is trap 1, Sing Along Sally. Heat 4, we've got Mallows Marley in 1, Agent Stanley in 2, One Time Only in 3, Fabulous Observer in 4, Zafiro in 5, and in 6, Stone Park Leo. Bomber, what do you fancy?
Yeah, look, I've sided with Agent Stanley in this heat. I just think it's a massive early pace heat, to be fair. The Fabulous Bitch, she did the fastest run, 28.26. I just think she's got great draws the first 2 nights. I've gone for the first 2 nights and she's done well for me, but at the same time, she's coming out of 4 now, and she's in with good early pace dogs. It's just a different ask. Agent Stanley, I just was so impressed with him last week for Desi Gilbert, Skippy Gilbert. I actually missed the race live, and I went in and I watched it online, and I seen he won the race, and was watching the replay of the race. I actually couldn't believe he won the heat the way he did. Like, I would always have him that he wants to be out in 5 and 6, but he actually railed really well in the first 2 bends and showed massive pace in the back straight. Him and One Time Only, I think, went head to head again in the back straight. It was just a professional performance. He just got the job done. I'm just going for Agent Stanley just because I think there's a much better break in this dog than he's shown. Like, he's only doing 130 sectionals and he's still showing massive pace, and he got to the front last week. But like, this dog is a 202 in Shelbourne Park. He's easily capable of a low 120, and even a mid 120 he's going to put him to the front probably in this heat. The Stone Park dog showed massive pace last week. The pace he showed in the first round in the back straight. The clock was a bit surprising, 28.78 when it come up, because the track was running well, and I just don't know if he came home that well, because he won by a fair distance, but he did cut the head off 2 dogs on the first bend, Sing Along Sally, and I can't remember what the other dog was now, but he was just left in front, and he won the race. But I just have a concern with the overall time at the end. He basically got a solo in the race, and I just don't think 28.78 won't be good enough in this heat. Now, he probably has a good draw in 6. Zafiro was a bit disappointing last week. I know me and Dylan thought he was nap material last week, and he had the right heat, the right box, and a little bit disappointed with him, to be honest. And I think he's going to struggle in this heat out of 5. He's just too much early pace around him. Now, saying that, he is a strong runner, could fall well from, if the early pace was getting each other's way, he could find himself then in the semi-final, and anything can happen from there. If he puts his class that he showed in Tralee, he could be a player in the competition. It's hard to know. I actually thought the Mallows Marley had a great chance in this heat as well. It was between him and Agent Stanley I was trying to pick between, but this dog's actually been running well the last few weeks. Like, he has a massive 28.30 in Clomel's card, and look, he's an exceptionally fast dog. He did 28.50 last week. He has to lead to win. Like, every time he's ever won a race, he's led the whole way. And if Agent Stanley happened to move off, like he has done before, though he didn't show it last week, he could get himself into the race. And I just think if you lead in this heat, you're probably going to win it. So he's one you could probably go in at a massive price. But for one for selection, I'll go with Agent Stanley, and I hope he goes well for Skippy. But I'll go for Agent Stanley this one.
So Bomber's selection for Heat 4 is trap 2, Agent Stanley. Fitzy, what do you fancy?
I'm following.
Oh,
Bomber
who's
again
copying
here.
who now?
I'm bang with Agent Stanley here anyway. I backed him anti-poster in the week at 33.25, so I thought that's a ridiculous price. He's the most experienced dog left in the Kirby with Mulligan Marley. They both have 13 races. The dog with the next most races at 10, I think. I looked down through the anti-post list and I could only find two dogs that I could really put into a professional category, and that's Agent Stanley and Deadly Destroyer. Thought Deadly Destroyer has a chance of getting knocked out this weekend. So that led me to believe Agent Stanley was probably the best bet left in the anti-post list at 33-1. Well, it's with Paddy Powers. That's a mythical price. I could get very little on at that, but the 25 is available at Star Sports and others is still overly generous in my opinion. This dog is probably 2.5 lengths worse out the pins in Limerick than he has been in Shelbourne for the past 2 months, and he never had a look around before the competition, so he can only improve out the boxes here. I thought there's still a massive run left in this dog. He's done plenty of 28.50s and 28.60s in his career thus far, but when you actually look back the nights he's done them, he's nearly always been the best run on the night. It just, Shelbourne has been running a bit fast and slow for the last 3 or 4 months, and I know people will probably argue against the point, but he's genuinely just done his runs on slow tracks. He's nearly always been a standout 5 to 5 on the night. He's doing 16 10s to the third bend on slow tracks, which is ridiculous. He's not coming home great at all, but this is a race full of leaders for me. I'm bang against the favourite. Fabulous is around 4. I think 2 and 3 are awful dogs for. Even one could be a bad dog for. They're all quick away railers. Well, railers, I say. They're all quick away. They're all insider. Saphira on 5 is an 80-pound dog. Was a very tight railer. He's been trapping recently. He could easily cover the favourite as well here in the early yards. They'll leave Stone Park Leo with a great draw out wide, but I thought he showed massive pace last week. He followed a bit. Seeing Long Sally hit the rail on multiple occasions, and she still got to within 2.5 lengths of him. Even if he did lead here, he might still need 1 or 2 things to happen for him in behind for him to hold on. He's drawn to lead up the outside. He should qualify, but I definitely want to be with Agent Stanley at 4-1. The 4-1 he is currently, and liable to be a lot bigger on the night as well. I mean, he drifted out to the best part of 11-2 last week, which was ludicrous, but he's not badly drawn here at all. He covered one time only very easily last week off a horrifically bad missed break. He had absolutely no right to turn left on the corner. He had the Luminous Dog. The Luminous Dog's muzzle was probably covering Agent Stanley's 2 on his racing jacket, and he just cut his nose, cut his neck, cut everything off him on the corner, just threw himself around as if he was a tight railer, the tightest railer in the Kirby, when I thought quite the opposite, but he disproved that last week. He drove the hardest bend of any dog he left in the competition. He's normally a fast starter. If he starts quick here now, they'll all have to run some to rein him in. I thought Saphiro, as bad as he's ran the last 2 weeks, he's still there. He is still the dog that did the massive runs in Tralee. The trek might be a bit slower this week. It's not beyond the realms of possibility here that he just drops onto the fence. There's 5 big early pacers in the race. He could pick up the pieces. I know firms offering forecast and TriCast fixed odd prices. I would not be against anyone playing 2 to beat 5 and 2 5 2 6 forecasts and even 2 field 5 TriCasts. I think Saphiro could run into a place here if he just drops onto the fence and stays out of trouble as he is likely to, considering he has such little early pace compared to the 5 other dogs in this heat.
So Fitz's fancy for Heat 4 is track 2, Agent Stanley. We now move on to the Shelbourne Open 600 semi-final. In 1, we've got Monbeg Zinzan. In 2, Razzle Dazzle Peaky. 3, Great Name That. 4, Priceless Jet. 5, Beach Avenue. And in 6, Amazing Champ. Bomber, what do you fancy?
Yeah, look, this is an unbelievable contest, to be honest with you, Davey. Look, the 600 to 2 semi-finals, they're just as good as races could possibly be in the field. Like this race is just, you've got like Monbeg Zinzan. He's probably going to go off at a massive price, and like it's only because of the quality of dogs that's in this race. Beach Avenue, he was just unbelievable last week. Like I actually couldn't believe he came from that far behind to win. He's just an exceptionally good dog. He shot in the Easter Cup, his second Easter Cup. He was coming from the Turbend home quicker than anything else in the stake. He just really picked up the pieces. I went from last week, like he was in with Ballymac Kingdom and Great Name That, but I didn't expect him to come from that far behind him. I thought if he's behind Kingdom and Great Name That, I thought he could possibly just get a lovely run on the outside and track around. And if Great Name That and Ballymac Kingdom got in the way, but it didn't really pan out like that. Great Name That just showed massive pace, and he just caught him fair and square, bet him 2 lengths. I do think the Great Name That needed the run though. Like he'd been off for a bit, and like there was issues apparently during the Easter Cup, and he's probably only coming back. He could easily make up them 2 lengths back with the race runner's belt again. He's just such a fast dog. I actually think he can do a lot better to the corner as well. I think he can break 6 seconds to the bend. He didn't do a lot. He was close enough last week, but he's well capable of smashing that. Priceless Jet. Me and Dylan went from last week as well. I thought he was in a much weaker heat, to be honest with you. I just thought he had a great draw. He's just an exceptionally fast dog. He's probably Great Name That's bogey in this race, that the 2 of them are probably the fastest dogs the third bend in the race. They could just have a massive head-to-head battle down the back straight and to the third bend, and Beach Avenue come up, he could pick up the pieces again. But look, amazing champ as well. He's only probably coming back from injury as well, and he ran probably below par, but he could take a massive leap forward, but he's going to have to take a huge leap to be able to compete in this heat, because this is just unbelievable. Like, I can't even explain how good of a race this is. He actually could be a player in the early yards if he was back to himself as well. Look, I'm probably sitting on the fence here, but I'm going to go for Great Name That. I just think he can probably lead, and if he can hold off Price's Jet and get a mass run in the back straight, he could just find that extra few lengths that Beach Avenue won't be able to come from behind them. And I think Beach Avenue probably has to come from behind even better dogs. Probably of an overall field, he'll have to pass 3 or 4 faster dogs than he did the week before. So I'll go for Great Name That in this heat anyway.
So Bomber's selection for the first semi-final is trap 3, Great Name That. Fitzy, what do you fancy?
I'll just side with Priceless Jet here. I wasn't exactly blown away by him last week because of, anyone who watches Irish racing has known how fast this dog is for an awful long time. I know. And his trials, whenever he's been given a solo trial, he just lights the track up. But I thought he's perfectly drawn here. Beach Avenue in 5, an amazing champ, and 6 shouldn't be able to get near him to the corner off any sort of a level start. I mean, Priceless Jet fell out of the box last week. He's normally quite a sharp trapper, and over the intermediate 4 bend trips, he gets tapped for early speed. But over 600 yards, I think if he traps, he'll just blitz them to the third bend here. 4 is his ideal box, in my opinion, 3 or 4. Great Name That in 3, I'll go up straight. Beach Avenue in 5. We'll go up straight enough anyway, but I don't think he has the early pace to hinder Priceless Jet in this sort of race. Obviously, Beach Avenue's performance last week was breathtaking. It was arguably the best performance on Saturday night, including down in Limerick as well. He came from 2 or 3 lengths behind Great Name That, and he just blew him to pieces up the running. Every time Beach Avenue's getting put in the track, he just looks better and better and better. This is a dog that really wasn't on anyone's radar, even when he was running over 750. And there was this kennel mate, JT Tornado, fought him off the track one night. And ever since then, it's just seemingly turned him on. Like, whatever happened that night when he got fought in the 750 down in the Cambridgeshire and Limerick, he's just not put a paw wrong since then. He's won the 5-7-5 stake in Cork. He ran up the Easter Cup. He was beat a short head in 31-01, a very slow Shelbourne track. The 32-10 last week in Shelbourne for the 600. He's Antico's favourite for the open 600. You know what I mean? If you told a lot of people this dog would be doing that about 4 or 5 months ago, they would have sent you to the men in straight jackets. He's just been turned inside out. Hennessy's done a great job, and he's absolutely flying the last few months. And it is hard to make a case against him, but just from a price perspective, I just want to be against him. I thought he might just get behind an extra dog or 2 this week. 1 and 2 can go to the corner over 600 yards. 2 isn't the best bend runner. Great Name That's gone back to what he was like at the back end of last week. He just wasn't a corner slip and for as long as he's not running the corners 100%, I just can't keep him on side. He's still a ridiculously talented dog, arguably the fastest dog in Ireland for 550 yards, 575 yards probably. But in AAO racing, 600 yards, there's just no prisoners. If he's leaving a half length on the corners, you don't get away with it. And I thought Priceless Jet off his normal fast start could just front off here, and I would be surprised if he posts 32.05, 32.10, them sort of figures for the 600. And if he does that and gets caught by Beach Avenue, I'll very happily do my money and put it that way, because I'm yet to see a greyhound ever come from behind in them sort of times. So it's a race to savour more than a race to bet on, but I'll just side with Priceless Jet.
So Fitz's fancy for the first semi-final is trap 4, Priceless Jet. The second semi-final, we have got Billy's Diva in 1, Hello Hammond in 2, Ballymac Wild in 3, Piano in 4, Ballydoyle Losser in 5, and in 6, Ath Lacazette. Bomber, what do you fancy?
Yeah, look, we said the first heat was just unbelievable. The second heat, it's just as good, probably maybe even better. Look, Billy's Diva, she just put on a masterclass performance last week. You could say she was robbed in the Kirby. She did everything right in the first round, and she got nearly flipped over the first bend. She was knocked out at the stake. She was desperate and lucky. I took her on last week with Ballymac Wild, but Jesus, she just destroyed them. Like, she just bet them everywhere. She smashed the 6 seconds to the corner. I think it was her and Perino did the fastest runs to the bend last week. Look, if she just repeats that again, how could you take her on? Like, you have to be a madman to probably take her on. Look, she's going to be ridiculously short. She's not one to going back, but if you're trying to pick a selection to win the race, you just have to go for Billy's Diva. Dylan flagged Hello Hammond as being a hazard last week. I didn't even think he had the pace to get into the race at all at any point last week, but he was actually up there with them at the bend last week, and he does run off the corner, so he could just even make this race for Billy's Diva again. He could just really just give her an absolute solo. Ballymac Wild was a little bit disappointing last week, to be honest with you. Look, he's an exceptionally fast dog. We know how good he is. He went with Billy's Diva, to the third bend, but then he kind of just fell away. I don't know if he's really getting the 600 yard as well. But look, if he puts it back to what the dog he was, he's still a major player. I just think Billy's Diva, she keeps repeating that trap and she'll always have his number. Like, he had every chance to get her last week and he couldn't. So, look, it's hard to oppose Billy's Diva. The one thing I have to mention, the 5, the Ballydoyle Rasta bitch, she's won the Ballymac Rosas. Now, we know she did 29.40 in Cork for the 550. You just know any greyhound that can do that is unbelievable. Like, they're exceptionally fast. The pace she showed in the race last week was just, I actually never did think she could run so well. The pace she showed, I was really blown away by it, to be honest with you. This bitch could just do anything. Like, she's just that good. And if Billy's Diva was in this race, you could say she could come out and do a massive run, but she just really picked holes in Ballymac Wild last week when she got a run, and she did move for the fence, and the race didn't go her way, but she's well capable of doing as fast as anything in Shelbourne Park in a solo if she gets one. Now, she probably won't get a solo the way the race is going to pan out with Perino as well. He's going to probably go to the bend well. I probably didn't give him enough credit last week. I went to get him last week, and look, he won that Munster Juvenile stake in Clonmel. He's got some class. He came up to Shelbourne Park. He struggled in the grade a bit, but look, that's understandable. It takes a couple of dogs, 6 or 7 races to really. It's just that hot of a grade. But maybe he doesn't have the overall building clock. But look, when you lead in these races, you can get yourself involved. It's just an exceptionally fast. There's just exceptionally fast dogs in this race. Look, I'm going with Billy's Diva, but look, Ballymac Wild and the pace the Ballydoyle bit showed last week. It's just one to watch.
So, Bomber's selection for semi-final 2 is trap 1, Billy's Diva. Fitzy, what do you fancy?
I thought Billy's Diva would just win this heat, to be honest. She was 7 to 2, 10 to 3, 3 to 1 anti-poster in the week. I think that's a ludicrous price. She's going to represent the 4th and 9, 2's on shot in this heat. So I don't know, go figure what's that, 1 to 8, 1 to 10 to be in the front 3. I struggle to see why she's putting the floor, how she's kept out of the frame over this sort of trip. She's just a relentless galloper. She's the fastest in the competition to the 3rd bend. She's probably the classiest dog in the competition at the minute. Now, that comes with caveats. Ballymac, while as a ledger and Derby finalist of last year, he's just struggled a small bit to recapture that form, in my opinion. Even when he won in the Easter Cup, I thought he was still a few lengths below his best. But you could excuse it. He was sort of pestered the whole way by Sweep the Yard. He did well to win the race. He's just a real gutsy dog. I thought 600 yards would be the making of him now, but last week he just faded a small bit. It's one of them though. He's an 82-pound dog now. You know, he might just take a while to come to hand. He may well improve for a bit of sun in his back as well in the summer. Tracks get a bit faster. 600 5-cent bike be his ideal trips. He's not been hitting the box recently like he has been in his Derby and his Ledger campaigns. If he was to do that now, he really could give Billy's Diva a fright here. I know he was held quite comfortably last week, but it probably, again, he wasn't putting his best foot forward. There's definitely more to come over this sort of trip from him. I wouldn't give up on him yet. You know, that he has undoubted class and he does have potential over this trip still. He probably doesn't have an ideal draw here either. 3 is his box, but Pierno and 4 is a very, very quick away. He'll edge in a small bit from 4. Ballydor Ross will dive in from 5. She ran a burster last week. Now she got plenty of room to run. Aladdin 4 broke down out the box. It enabled her to get across. She won't have that this week with Pierno. He's going to be fast away. He's going to be on away on the run to the corner. It'll be interesting to see how she tracks into the first bend. She showed a big racing brain last week now. But out of the second bend, there were only 4 dogs in the race, and she was 3rd, and she was in front of a dog in 4th who doesn't stay. So, you know, she flew home, but she might need to just show a bit more tactical speed in this sort of race to get involved. And she only has 4 races under her belt. She's a member of a brilliant litter. She may well have that, but the jury's obviously out for a race of this caliber at such an early stage of her career. And at Lacazette in 6, actually ran a burster last week. His trials suggested that he was 10 lengths off his best coming into the stake. He did 32.55 last week. He led into the corner, just got bended off by Priceless Jet. I think he's a big outsider, probably rightly so in this race. He's 1 from 15. He's a fast dog when he puts it together, but he definitely doesn't stay 600 yards against this caliber of greyhound. Hello Hammond 2 runs right off the bends every single week without fail. How Beach Avenue avoided him last week, I still don't know. It just looked like it had trouble written all over. It looked like it was going to be carnage into the bend. And Hello Hammond actually got round unscathed enough now. He didn't actually take anyone out of the race. They might not be that lucky this week if he traps again. He has all sorts of pace. He's a very fast dog, but he just doesn't have a sat nav. That just plays into Billy's Diva's hands. If she starts level from trap 1, since they've changed the 575 600 back box and shelver, and trap 1's the box to be in, just has a habit of absolutely firing dogs out the box. If she traps in this race now, I wouldn't be surprised if she goes quicker than the 32.24 she posted last week. Now she's had a run over the trip under her belt, but you know, her price represents that. She's a very, very short odds on shot. So again, it's another watching brief. If you could still get 3 to 1 plus for her to win the competition, I couldn't put anyone off that. I'm not sure I'd lay any bigger than about 7 to 4 myself. I think she should be favoured for the competition off last week. So that might be an angle into this 600 comp, because there really isn't many betting options on the 2 heats themselves. They're just 2 quality semi-finals, and they're worth watching. They're probably not worth putting your hand in your pocket for. So I'm looking forward to watching the 2 of them anyway.
So Billy's Diva's your selection?
Yeah, I think she'll win the heat.
So Fitz's fancy for the second semi-final is trap 1, Billy's Diva. As always, lads, I really appreciate you coming on the show. I appreciate the support. Hopefully you've tipped up a few winners, and hopefully Bomber might get more level.
Hopefully, Davey.
Cheers, David. Can't go much worse than last week anyway.
Cheers, lads.
Cheers, thanks.
Cheers, Davey.